Well, I guess you can say that Nintendo has flipped the switch.
Yeah!
No, we're not doing that. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Espionic.
I'm your Super 4.
And after an approximate 19-month wait since they officially announced this, Nintendo has finally unveiled the console formerly known as the NX, which is now known as the Nintendo Switch. So, the name, what do you think of the name?
It works. Plain and simple. People probably would... There's people who are probably already just tired, already upset because it's a Nintendo gimmick. But I'm like...
well, the thing... Well, when it comes to the name, I've only seen... most people seem to be, like the name, or fine with the name, or indifferent to the name. And I've seen a few people complain about the name. They wanted, a name that brings Nintendo back to its, so-called awesomeness in, the 90s or whatever. And, what? What do you think that Nintendo was supposed to name this, the Nintendo ass kicker or something like that?
Like, the system that turns around and bangs you in the rear.
To me, an overcompensating sounding... I get that you want a cooler name, but, there are people who seem like they wanted something that sounded just kind of overcompensating, and that makes it sound even lamer to me.
Nintendo, please don't look at my penis.
So yeah, I think it's a good name. I'm not absolutely in love with it, but it's I think the name works.
But like I said, it's not gonna have it. Well, it doesn't have the problem of the confusion where people are like, oh, well, what is this? Is this a new add-on for the Wii? No, it's...
Yeah, the moment I saw the trailer pop up and the name of the trailer for First Look at Nintendo Switch, I knew immediately what the system was about just from the name alone. I think it mostly had to do with one particular rumor, but the name explains what the system is. I think it's a catchy sort of name, and I think it's an extremely marketable name because the marketing for this basically writes itself. It's time to make the Switch.
The Switch is it.
The other thing about this is that I kind of almost didn't realize this, but this is the first console since the Nintendo GameCube that has the word Nintendo in the console's name.
And people say, well, some people might say, what about the Nintendo Wii? No, that's just the Wii.
Yeah, they're officially just branded as the Wii and Wii U. But a lot of people, just instinctively put the word Nintendo in front of it because that's how it is for every other console.
The Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super Nintendo, the Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube.
It's... the name makes me think of, an everyday sort of gadget that people have in their everyday lives, like an iPod Touch or something. The name has that sort of feel to it to me.
Well, that's what kind of noticed. When you showed me the trailer the first time when I saw Switch, yeah, I knew that. I started to know that too. Oh, yeah, so that one rumor about this thing being a hybrid is true.
So they revealed the Nintendo Switch in a 3-minute trailer. It showed off exactly how it works, what you can do with it. And the handheld home console hybrid is basically how to describe it. You can dock the screen to play it on your television, or you can take the screen with you to continue playing it.
Either by you can just play it like you would gamepad, or you can take the Joy-Con controllers, what they're called, the ones on the gamepad, and just use it on the screen, and you can just play it like holding a Wii remote nunchuck, which is kind of weird, but kind of cool at the same time. Where it is You don't need what they have as a docking port.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Well, the docking port charges, serves for charging the battery of the screen. Actually, going to the Joy-Con controllers on the screen. When they're on the screen, it makes me think of basically PlayStation Vita XL. Like it reminds me a lot of the PlayStation Vita, actually. And I've seen people comment on how it seems a little too big. I think it's just small enough. It's noticeably bigger than the PlayStation Vita, but it's definitely like smaller and sleeker than a gamepad, and I think that works because me personally, like, I love the 3DS, but there's one big thing that I think the Vita does a lot better than the 3DS is that it feels much more comfortable to hold on to. Like, whenever I'm playing on it, I can play on it for a very long time and my hands don't feel like they're cramping, like, ever, unlike the 3DS, but... So, and the gamepad is sort of similar to me. Like, I feel... A lot of people say it's uncomfortable. For me, it's actually surprisingly comfortable, so... I feel like this setup is going to be comfortable whenever I play it on the go. And the fact that the home console handheld hybrid, that was like the biggest rumor about this thing. And that rumor has been around since way before the letters NX were even a thing. Like, I remember this as early as like spring 2014, like around that time where I started hearing rumors about this. And there were hints towards them going to this direction for a while now, with Nintendo merging their handheld and home console development teams. You see, like, they did a lot of ports of console games to the 3DS, like Donkey Kong Country Returns, Xenoblade Chronicles. They even had a handheld version of Smash and Hyrule Warriors. It just seemed like it was... And now they have like Yoshi's Woolly World, Super Mario Maker.
It's called Poochie and Yoshi's Woolly World, but it's just...
Yeah, like, there were hints of them, like, they were definitely testing what it was like to have these console games on a handheld for a reason.
Well, they also had, before that, back in the day, it was just putting handhelds on a console with the Super Game Boy. One of them was Donkey Kong 94. Had a bit enhancements, like Pauline did sound like a cat.
And it looked like an actual arcade machine on the screen.
And then, like you said, the Game Boy Player, which was essentially, once again, it was like, for a bit, it was like Nintendo was putting their handhelds on consoles. Now they're just putting their consoles on a handheld.
Yeah, it almost feels like that this has been Nintendo's ultimate goal for like the past 25 years.
That's what it is, like, where you have like the Super Game Boy, and then the Game Boy Player, and then the gamepad has very similar fate where you could play a game on it if you just wanted to. If you didn't have your TV wasn't working, or depending on how close your bathroom is.
But back to the Joy-Cons. You mentioned like kind of like a Wii Remote and nunchuck sort of setup.
I like how you don't really need the little. There's a little thing that looks like a basic old controller, the grips.
Yeah, the Joy-Con grip. That's what it's called.
But you don't even need that if you didn't want to use it. You're like, yeah, I just need to take these. If you played the Wii a lot, like games like say Galaxy or No More Heroes, you can just go, yeah.
And you can also hold it sideways to kind of have it like the Wii Remote on its side, or an NES controller.
Or an SNES, since it technically has 4 buttons.
Well, and shoulder buttons too. Like, I think the Joy-Cons actually do have some sort of shoulder buttons on it.
Yeah, this is essentially the ZL and ZR buttons, or the LR and then ZL and ZR, because
on the Joy-Con, the buttons, I noticed, like, and apparently a lot of people were making this mistake. I don't know how, but the little plus button that's like on the top of the right Joy-Con, people for some reason thought it was a D-pad.
I don't know. I thought that too, but I'm like, I bet I was one of them, but I thought about it for a second. To like, no.
And people have been like so caught up in like Nintendo being so gimmicky that they think they went to something.
I never. I'm like, that can't be. At first, I thought that though, like, because I'm usually used to the things like the plus and minus buttons being in the circle, which they are on the Switch Pro controller. It's like how it usually is. That's how they did with the Wii and how they did with the Classic Controller or the Classic Controller Pro. That right there, I'm like, oh, that's just the plus button. Or like, they actually put a little plus button.
Yeah, you're not the only one who made that mistake. I saw several people say that. I'm like,
they learned from GameCube. The GameCube controller might have been. I thought the GameCube controller was comfy, but that D-pad and how the button layout, the face button layout is a little hinky.
Speaking of the D-pad, for the left Joy-Con, they don't have an actual D-pad. They have more directional buttons, which kind of remind me of the C buttons on the N64 controller. I'm not sure how I feel about the directional buttons. They might be fine, but like, since it's going to be, that's how you would most likely play it if you have it in your hand, then yeah.
Well, it's also because they wanted to have like you and your friend want to play like a game. You can give control to one person and then they can take another. So
yeah, that's why they're directional buttons, because when you have it on its side, they can become the ABYX face buttons, basically. Even though they aren't labeled as such, but Nintendo Switch Pro controller, it's basically kind of what I expected it to be. What you hear Pro controller, except it's a little different from the Wii U one, since it has the little right stick below the face buttons, which doesn't really make a difference for me. I'm fine with it being above or below.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I would never say I wanted to say, oh, it was natural. It took a little bit for me to get used to, but
it didn't take me any time to get used to. I just did it.
And I say, like, it took a while, and I say it took like months or years. And I'm thinking, and if it really took you years, that's being melodramatic, honestly.
It took me no time to get used to it. It was just like, okay, the stick's up there. But I think that's going to be sold separately, whereas a grip controller is kind of your standard controller that comes with the console itself. What are your general impressions on the Switch so far?
I really like my general impression is I think it's pretty awesome. How it is, like, and it feels like where I feel like it's something where like people were dreading the gimmick, but I'm like,
well, even then, people are still complaining about it not being a normal console for some reason. If you really wanted to, you can forever leave the screen docked and play every single game you get for the Switch on your TV and never move it, ever.
And people, I guess, don't like options. To each their own, but what's wrong with me liking options?
But I think the reason why you're particularly excited for this is because you're more of a handheld gamer.
Well, that probably is the case, because a good chunk of the games I've played and beaten were on handhelds. I mean, I've beaten a few home console games, but I've beaten a lot more handhelds.
Yeah, as for me, I wouldn't classify myself as either more home console or handheld. I think it just mostly depends on my mood. There are times where I like having the screen up close to my face, but there are others where I just like seeing it like looking really nice on a big screen. So for me, mostly it's just like it mostly depends on my mood. So one of the big things that we see in this trailer is that the Nintendo Switch uses cartridges instead of discs. Thank God. I prefer that way more than a disc. I've never really liked the disc. I've always hated how the disc reader, after a while, it's for our consoles just seem to like not want to read anything anymore. Like the very first time I experienced that on the GameCube when playing Super Smash Bros. Melee, I was like, what is this garbage? Why would it play? And that's like continued to happen to us with the Wii and now the Wii U, and it's just like, you don't really have that issue with cartridges. Like, I mean, there is technically a chance that it'll just randomly say it couldn't be read, but like, it's way less of an issue with cartridges, and I'm just really glad to have them back for a home console.
Some people might be some people might not be worried about it, but those people who don't, who are probably thinking it's like one step forward, like 2 steps back. Cartridges and disc. Cartridges these days can hold a lot, just as much things as a disc. That was
the one advantage that disc had over cartridges, is that it was able to hold a lot more. And there were games that had multiple discs on it, like Final Fantasy,
Resident Evil,
Tales of Symphonia,
Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, that was like, you
LA
couldn't really
Noire on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, you couldn't really do that sort of thing on cartridges, but that's because they made the game so big, and even then the disc weren't able to handle all that space, so they were able to do the multiple discs and kind of solve that problem that way. But yeah, I just think it's overall excellent that we have cartridges again. So, let's talk about some of the games that they showed off. They showed The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which we already knew about. But what they also ended up showing is a new 3D Mario game, which, based on what I've seen of the very little footage that they've shown, I can tell that this game isn't, like, in the vein of Super Mario 3D Land or 3D World, because, well, for one, Mario can triple jump.
If people haven't played those games, yeah, in the 3D Land, 3D World, Mario or any other character cannot triple jump. I guess
in 3D Land they can kind of double jump, and in 3D World you can do a spin jump, which is really nice. But
like like in Sunshine, you just spun around, you just rotated the stick, your character spun around in a circle, and then you press the jump button.
But the other thing I noticed that's kind of unusual is that there is this rotating heart in a bit of the footage that they showed, and that reminds me of the hearts that you see in Super Mario 64.
Where you just ran into it, depending on your motion, how much you restored from it.
Yeah, which makes me think that this game is going to be more along the lines of Super Mario 64 and Sunshine and Galaxy, but which is great. I now love that style of game, but I personally prefer Super Mario 3D World. That's my favorite Mario game. And to a lesser extent 3D Land, just because I love the fact that it's a 3D game with the 2D mechanics. With the 2D game mechanics. I feel like that makes it feel like a more true Mario game, for lack of a better term, but it's been a while since we've seen a game like 64 or Galaxy or Sunshine, so I think I'm looking forward to seeing what this game is all about. I'm not entirely sure what this game is all about, because you see weird things like these, like these transparent rock structures and a bit of the gameplay. You see Mario running around
in Mexico.
Like something that kind of resembles Mexico. I'm not entirely sure what that's all about.
I thought it'd be like some Super Mario World adventure where it's like Song Unleashed, you're going through world locales that are based on real world locations.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I would actually really like that. So the other games that they showed a Mario Kart game that looks like Mario Kart 8. Now, when looking at the Mario Kart footage, it's a little tough for me to tell, mainly because, well, it clearly used the same engine, same font, same sort of user interface. Well, I guess not, like HUD sort of display stuff, but we see you have the double item slot there. You see King Boo, both of which were not in Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, it was like there were DLC characters, but he was not part of them. It was like Dry Bowser, they had Tanuki, Mario, Cat Peach, the Villager.
I love Cat Peach. But I've seen some people talking about this. Like, it's hard to say whether or not that's a port or a sequel or not, but a lot of people have brought up the idea of this being sort of a Double Dash sequel. Mainly because they have, like, Yoshi's Circuit is originally from Double Dash, yeah, but it is a DLC course in Mario Kart 8 as well, so it's... And, like, the double item slot also makes them think that we don't see a Double Dash mode here, but if it was another Double Dash, I would be happy, since Double Dash is, I would say, my second favorite Mario Kart game. And that hasn't been seen in a while, and I think that would be a good enough selling point for, like, if this is basically a port. If it has that difference...
Double Dash. Where I get hit by a star and die on Luigi's Circuit.
Just to give some context to what he's referring to, because this is a bit of a funny story, but... We were racing on Luigi's Circuit in Double Dash.
Mario Kart Double Dash. We were racing. He got a Starman. He hit me.
And it somehow acted as you got knocked off the course.
It's really like I fell off the course.
If you've seen Luigi's Circuit, that shouldn't happen.
Nothing can kill you. Nothing can drop you out of the course. The only thing that can ever hit you is a chain chomp, I think.
And even that doesn't knock you out of the course either.
I just disappeared and Lakito picked me up. We were both, like, flabbergasted.
I don't know what was more ridiculous about that race. The fact that happened, or that I somehow still lost.
I won. Somehow I won despite getting sent to hell temporarily. And that's like, well, like I said, that's like, and that'll be the moment. If we're racing in a course that's similar to Luigi's Circuit, and I get hit by a Starman and die, then it's Double Dash.
But yeah, I think it would like a Double Dash mode, some new courses, and like one of the biggest complaints about Mario Kart 8 is the lack of like actual battle arenas. If they had something like that, then yeah, I think people would be all over that. Along with all the stuff that made Mario Kart 8 so great, because that's my favorite game in the series, so combining elements for my two favorite Mario Kart games would be awesome.
Yeah.
They also showed off Splatoon, which... This one, to me, I'm more inclined to say that it's a sequel, because I've seen enough footage of Splatoon to notice that the way... When the Inklings spawn in, the way they animate is different. Their hairstyles are different, their clothes are different, their weapons are different. Like, they're the same weapon types, but they definitely look different.
That's what I thought. Some people, I don't like. At first, I'm like, okay, is this Splatoon 1.5? But part of me is like, I think this is Splatoon 2. I kind of still think it's Splatoon 2 because they wanted to be more of a. I kind of heard things about them wanting to make Splatoon like in terms of Mario Kart, where it has a different iteration each time.
Well, yeah, because Splatoon was one of the breakout hits of the Wii U. It sold really well for a new IP, especially on a console that had such a low install base. So, yeah, I would definitely I definitely would prefer a sequel over just a port. And assuming that this is a sequel, the one thing I'm really hoping for is more fleshed out single player mode, because while as short as it was in the original Splatoon, the single player mode in that game was was surprisingly awesome. I thought it was really well done for how short it was, and just to have more of that would be great. But I also hope that a lot of the extra elements that they have for that game aren't restricted to being online only, because if you don't have internet, Splatoon is honestly kind of lame without internet.
You can't buy anything.
You can't buy anything without the if you're not connected to the internet.
I'm pretty sure I think Pokemon Battle Revolution, you can still buy the in-game items. Wow.
Yeah, that was so annoying.
I didn't get that. Like,
that kind of hard, like, even though I loved the single player mode, that just like like I can't even like buy like other weapons to try to mount in these stages. Like that really sucks. So
or you had to use the like the amiibo if you wanted to do certain missions with the roller or the charger.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about how like Splatoon, the original Splatoon, was made in a year, basically. Now it's been like almost 2 years since they've been working on this game, presumably. So they have the chance to add a lot more to it. I'm not sure like when this is going to come out. It could be holiday 2017. We don't know, because they know that Splatoon has that weight to it, that it's worthy being sold as a holiday title. So hopefully it'll be able to have a lot more, especially for someone who doesn't have online. I mean, even just the fact that it seems like you can take advantage of like a 4v4 local multiplayer, which to me it already makes it even better. It also makes me more inclined to think that it isn't just a port. And like seeing these potential like ports or sequels or updates for these big Wii U games, this will probably happen for Smash 4 as well.
I wonder, considering what's been happening, it might happen with. I feel like if the ones that would probably happen to, honestly, was like Hyrule Warriors and Smash 4. That was the ones I thought. I didn't.
And Pokken Tournament, maybe, since the arcade version is getting new characters and just got like Darkrai and Scizor. So yeah, there's that too. And with Smash 4, it's like the one character that people have like been wanting to see again is the Ice Climbers. And if it's just a handheld home console hybrid, then, and if it's based off of the Wii U version, then adding the Ice Climbers shouldn't really be as much of an issue now.
And again, the Summit stage, you know, the one that Al Gore probably played a lot.
Oh yeah, I love that stage.
That was a weird stage.
I would love that stage back a lot.
Where it had the fish from Balloon Fighter for some reason that you stood too close to water.
So, 2 other games that they showed were a bit of a surprise. They showed a basketball game, which apparently has been confirmed to be NBA 2K17, and Skyrim. Presumably Skyrim Remastered, both of which are like third-party games that you like don't really see on Nintendo consoles. Skyrim in particular is like, it's been like on practically everything but a Nintendo console, and just seeing that there is pretty shocking to say the least.
Well, I was generally more indifferent to a Bethesda game.
Yeah, I don't have much personal interest in them, but it's just kind of
it's
like,
so weird. Like, oh, wow, that's Skyrim.
Because I remember seeing that Bethesda was pretty critical of the Wii U, so to see them immediately on board with the Switch, it's just like really shocking. It might be a bit telling to how the third-party support is going to be, because there was a picture that Nintendo had of a sampling of the partners that they have for the Nintendo Switch, and there's definitely some that don't surprise me really at all. Like Sega, like, I expected them to be on... Well, we know they have a Sonic game.
Yeah, there's a Sonic game, but even then...
Like...
Sega knows that they're... Out of all the systems, Sonic sells best on Nintendo consoles.
Since they've gone third-party, the majority of Sonic games have been on a Nintendo system, so... It's not surprising to see them there. Platinum Games doesn't really surprise me. They like working with Nintendo.
They made Wonderful 101. So.
Same with Atlas. Same with... Well, Bandai Namco works a lot with Nintendo. They work on a lot of Nintendo's projects. Like, they worked on Mario Kart 8 and Smash 4 and Pokken Tournament, so... And Koei Tecmo doesn't surprise me.
Because, Hyrule Warriors.
And that was their most successful Warriors game ever, so...
Yeah. I really would recommend people to play either Warriors game, of the Hyrule Warriors game, be it Legends or even just on the Wii U, because Koei really showed their love of the series there. Like, some of these references, like, Kuko's just being a pain in your ass when they kind of just combo lock you. Kind of. There's a whole heart to those guys.
There's Level 5. That doesn't surprise me.
They're
practically second part. I think they're practically second party for Nintendo now.
Aren't they part of the Layton?
They do. Layton? Yeah, they do Professor Layton and Yokai Watch. And like, Capcom doesn't really surprise me. Marvelous, I'm pretty sure, has done a lot of 3DS games. But, like, the ones that do surprise me are, like, Bethesda, as mentioned before, and From Software, who does the Dark Souls series, and Take-Two. Like, they have Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead Redemption, which got a sequel announced recently.
And there's people who think it might be on the Switch.
I mean, Skyrim is.
Yeah, a game that big is on the Switch. A home console.
Yeah, I've seen people complaining about Skyrim's an old game. Like, who cares? Like, then why care? One, why care about the remaster? Period. Then, and two, it's a good game to illustrate just the fact that a game as big as Skyrim, you can play that on the go, just like Breath of the Wild being such a massive open world game. It's a good game to show off, just how capable the handheld component is. So, yeah. And when it comes to third parties, I'm not interested in too many of them, to be perfectly honest. But I don't really play a whole lot of third party games. The partners content that I'm interested in personally is like I said before, Sega's obviously there. I'm hoping that means that Sonic Mania will be confirmed for the Nintendo Switch sooner or later, because it would be weird if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Marvelous, of course, I'm a big fan of Senran Kagura. There's the potential of Senran Kagura 3. Kenichiro Takaki is confirmed an action game. He's mentioned wanting to work on the Nintendo Switch, so hopefully there will be a Senran Kagura 3, since the main series has been Nintendo exclusive. So, and Platinum Games, I would love to see a Bayonetta 3. They're being kind of coy about maybe a Bayonetta 3.
Maybe there's a sequel to Wonderful 101.
That I would love that, but I doubt it. I was actually going to mention, I remember seeing Hideki Kamiya mention the idea of doing a spin-off of John from Bayonetta.
I think he also said they want to do one with Elliot Hooker, aka Wonder Blue, from Wonderful 101.
But yeah, I would love a Bayonetta 3. A John, I'd be down for a John spin-off, honestly. Wonderful 101 sequel or something else, because they like making new IPs. Koei Tecmo, I would like to see another Warriors game crossovers, specifically with Fire Emblem.
Like, or I want to see the Dynasty Warriors games on there, like say, or even the Samurai Warriors.
Yeah, more Warriors games would be fine. I would play them, but I would play them, but I personally like the idea of the crossovers more. And Fire Emblem is, even though I don't even play Fire Emblem, I want one with Fire Emblem really badly. Arc System Works. They work on the Guilty Gear and BlazBlue series. I've been wanting to try out BlazBlue for a while now.
With Takada in like
I love her so much. She is so hilarious.
How random she is.
Like, she's like one of my favorite characters that I've ever seen, and I've never even played a single BlazBlue game. I love her that much. She's just so hilarious. Warner Brothers, they have like Mortal Kombat. I really like Mortal Kombat. I haven't played it in a while. And I'm kind of interested in the Injustice series. Like, I saw the first one, it looked kind of interesting. I've seen bits and pieces of Injustice 2. Haven't been really impressed with it, to be perfectly honest.
Did they have like Blue Beetle?
Yeah, they announced like Blue Beetle and Wonder Woman were recently confirmed, but put Black Canary in there and I'll get it.
I kind of like to see Static Shock.
No, actually, correction. Put Black Canary in it, and then I'll wait until your complete edition, because I know you're going to pull that crap.
And we need, like, Static Shock voiced by Phil Lamar.
But, yeah, the list looks... It's a great list. It's, like, all the heavy hitters of third parties that you would want to see on there. It looks promising, but we really just have to wait and see, because... Who knows, like, how...
Switch. They can be with you for, like, one day, but because you do, like, one little thing, they'll just leave pretty fast.
Yeah, like, I know at least some of them, especially, like, the Japanese ones will probably stick around, but...
American ones tend to leave. EA was pretty guilty of this. Ubisoft is also very guilty of this and kind of bullshitting sometimes.
Yeah, we'll have to see just, like, in, like, within, like, the first year or so, like, just how many of these partners actually stick, but it looks promising, I'll say that. So, in terms of the Switch itself, the only things I'm kind of concerned about are, like, the battery life of the handheld component. Like, I'm not that concerned about it. I'm sure it will be fine enough for when you have it on the go, but my biggest concern right now is that they confirmed that the Nintendo Switch is going to be a single screen experience. There's no dual screen experience, which to me is like a major missed opportunity, because for games like Splatoon, like, having that second screen is so useful.
Or like like where you could have had the map on the second screen.
And Pokemon, like, people have talked about, like, the excitement of, like, a Pokemon game on a home console, and
that
like,
wasn't like a sub-series.
Yeah, that isn't like Coliseum or XD. That's more structured like the core main series, and like that will be huge, along with like stuff like Monster Hunter and everything that's like usually relegated to a handheld. But like, having the second screen in Pokemon was just really useful, especially when you look at Sun and Moon. Like, all the the way they changed the battle interface for the second screen, they just have so much useful information on there to to have it all be kind of lost there. And like Zelda games, like, I thought Zelda games, I really enjoyed having the second screen for pretty much every Zelda game that I played that has it. Like, whether it's Ocarina of Time 3D, I thought it made Majora's Mask 3D a lot better. I thought it made Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD a lot better. And like, and that kind of ties into Breath of the Wild. The Wii U version doesn't even have like a lot of what those games did for its second screen. So I don't know. I just like, it just seems like a step backwards to me.
Or like some things, like some people might not like a lot of things, but there's things that I felt like this having a second screen did, and I feel like that's kind of a shame that that option is no longer there.
And just going further into that, the trailer didn't show anything with gyroscopic or motion controls, which also benefits Splatoon. Like, it made aiming so like quick and easy. And they didn't show any touchscreen controls either, which for like a game like Mario Maker, like Super Mario Maker was one of the best-selling games on the Wii U. It sold like right on par with Splatoon, and like just having the ability to move everything onto a screen to create your levels, it's like, how can you, like, why wouldn't you want that? Like, and I'm sure that Nintendo would want to like capitalize it on Super Mario Maker. That might be why they made a 3DS version. Like, well, I'm not 100% sure about like any of this, but like except for the dual screen experience thing. But like, I don't know. It's like we see that Super Mario Maker has a 3DS version now, so that might be because they might not have a touchscreen for the Switch, which I know a lot of people like absolutely hate the idea of playing games with those, but like to me, I liked having the option of being able to play specific games with other control inputs. Like, I really like. I refuse to play like Wind Waker and Twilight Princess without the gamepad. I think it makes the game a lot better. Right? I haven't played Super Mario Maker mainly because I'm not really interested in the course creating aspect, and I don't trust people's levels. If I even just want to play levels, I've seen enough ROM hacks to not trust anybody. But like, just like, how is making levels without the touchscreen going to be? It doesn't sound like it's going to work as well. And I've seen people mention like the Wii version of Resident Evil 4, how the controls make that game so much better.
Where you could point and headshot pretty much every progress that came your way.
Yeah, especially for like a first-person shooter. I always thought, like, why would you want to use anything other than a Wii remote and nunchuck? Because it clearly makes it so much better.
You can literally point and shoot.
Like, I can understand like these not being in the forefront, like that might be the case with all this, but I'm just I don't want to see like these innovations just to go away just because people don't want to bother using them. Because there are people like me who got use out of them, who like they made certain games better. They just did. So like, I don't want to harp too much on this because, like I said, it's nothing confirmed about it. But that's like what, honestly, my biggest concern. Other than that, I would say that I'm pretty excited about the Nintendo Switch. Nintendo has confirmed that there is going to be no new details about the Nintendo Switch until 2017, which I don't think people were expecting that, but like, yeah, for me it's fine.
It's like they had this thing with a date of March. They're not like they can't just throw everything out there. So you give they be giving the competition.
Yeah, if you got like everything like right now, okay, like, well, you still just have to wait like a few months. Here you still have like information to look forward to, and I mean, how awesome would it be to have like all of these games show off knowing that they're only 1, 2, 3, 4 months away?
That'd be pretty great. That'd be like Kirby playing Robot.
Yeah, that was announced only 3 months before it came out.
Yeah.
Or if you're in Japan, you only had to wait 1 month for that game.
Yeah.
And it just came out of nowhere. But overall, I thought that this was a very nice reveal. I'm excited for the Nintendo Switch. I do really like that handheld home console hybrid idea. I'm really glad they're going back to cartridges. They showed us exactly how it works, and that might be all we're going to get for now, but that's exactly what Nintendo needed to communicate to us the most. So now we still have information to look forward to. We don't know about things like the battery life, whether there are going to be motion controls or touchscreen controls. We don't know what like the online infrastructure is going to be like, what the UI or the OS is going to be like. We don't know whether it's going to be like region free or not or whatever, and most importantly, we still don't know what exactly the launch window of games are going to be like. We know we're getting like Zelda, Mario, Splatoon, Mario Kart, and a few third-party games, but I really want to see where those games are coming into place. I'm curious about how the third-party support will pan out. I'm hoping for things like Samurai Conqueror 3, Bayonetta 3, Fire Emblem Warriors game, stuff like that. I want a better idea of what the 3D Mario game is like, what Splatoon and Mario Kart are all about, and I just want to see whatever games Nintendo has for the Switch. I think Nintendo is off to a very solid start with this. I know they put a lot of time and thought into how they want to present this thing after what happened with the Wii U and everything, so I think we're going to be in for something great once we see all the information presented to us. I think that's all we have to say about the Nintendo Switch, unless you want to add anything.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. I'll make mention that I'm working on another video that I hope to have uploaded by probably at this point, like the beginning of November, maybe a little bit later. I can't promise anything, and I don't want to say anything about it right now, but it's a video that I've been planning and working on for quite a while, so hope you all enjoy it when I release that, but until then, I'm Espionic.
And I'm Yoshitara 4, asking you to save your courage for Link.
Take care, guys. Bye.
See ya.